food and beer and a car show and things like that. So I had heard that you were doing your budget for 2020, and I work closely with the city of St. Croix Falls, and I know a little bit about how budgets work far in advance, and people don't realize how much planning goes into it. So I snuck in and put a proposal together, and I was grateful that you'd have me at your meeting, and it seems like things are moving forward. So after that transpired, I asked the mayor and Patty if I could come introduce myself to the council, and this is kind of your summer series too, and I wanted to let you know that I'm very receptive to feedback. And there's 13 Wednesdays next summer, and so there's room for a lot of different kinds of music, everything from kids' nights. Preliminarily we have a kind of a agreement in partner with the police department to have their kids' movies on their blow-up screen that hasn't been used. So we're going to do that 3 times next summer. We'll do that the Wednesday before the Music on the River, so to kind of yield to them so they can have all the steam that week. But if you had a favorite kind of music or a favorite band, I'm still getting to know your area. I live about 8 miles north of here, and so I know from St. Croix Falls it took me about 10 years to kind of be treated as local and get to know everybody, and so I'm getting started. The mayor and Patty have my email, and so please feel free to send any suggestions or ideas on how to make that summer series really great. Backing up another step, I, over the past couple months, have been looking into trying to help reanimate your Amory Classic Theater. Been doing kind of due diligence and homework. Met with a lot of community members, in Amory, and I started out with Bob Zonk at the radio station, and he introduced me to the Amory Arts Alliance, and then I met with Sally and Ed and Tom with Music on the River, and then I met with some of your staff here at the city, and little by little we're finally, it seems like it's a good idea to try to get the theater going again. As you all know, there's some hurdles in the way of getting it out of disrepair, and so we're in that process of discovery right now to see if it's doable for a reasonable amount of money, and so this week we've got a series of inspections starting at the top of the roof, and it's kind of interesting to see phones pass along that roofer information. I'd be curious to talk to them as well. I've had a couple opinions, and there's some big difference in opinion on what should happen in there, and it's kind of a pivotal topic for this project. But really enjoyed just getting to know everybody, and I can guarantee you the summer series will be great. It's really lucky to just do family fun for a living, and so got about half the bands booked already, and room for some community input. And I think if you'll have me, I can maybe come back next month with an update on the theater progress, and if that's important to you, which I think it is, could be at least one of the heartbeats of a town like this. And so, does the council have any questions for me this evening?
Since you're on the agenda tonight, have you met with the community club again?
Yeah.
And they are proposing to go along to be a partial sponsor for this yet, or is that still in the air?
Well, we haven't really discussed a sponsorship or a cash sponsorship by any means, but we are working in tandem so it's mutually beneficial and we're not stepping on each other's toes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be advertising with Sally, and it's just, we have their blessing for sure. And we, one thing we did this week, I think I pitched this to you as Amory Music in the Park, and we met again, and they thought that was a little close to Music in the River. So if it's okay with the council, I'd like to change the title of the weekly Wednesdays to be Summer Wednesdays at Michael Park. And just to differentiate a little bit there. And then Tom and Ed, they really thought it was a great idea. They want to bring some of the community groups, some of the school groups to get involved. I'm hoping that the food each week in St. Croix Falls and in Forest Lake, we've had a lot of success with the different groups in town vending as fundraisers for their groups. Girl Scouts one week, Wrestling Club another week, and so the community club will help me kind of extend that invitation to some of those school groups. And I don't want to steal their fire, and they seem to think that's a good idea that we do these weekly, so I think everything should be fine. Anybody over here?
Just so you know, we won't be having a meeting in December,
Okay,
so I'll put you on the agenda for January. How's that sound?
perfect.
Okay.
Ben, thank you.
I think it's a good idea that we have a beautiful band shell out there, and it doesn't get enough use by far, and it's a good thing to bring to it, so use the area.
Thank you, Woody.
You're welcome. Thank you too, and feel free to contact me offline. And we'll,
All right.
Something that would be neat is other communities I've had city bands. If somehow reach out to school and stuff like that, I'm sure there's a lot of community members that play different instruments. Getting a city band together is kind of a neat thing too. And maybe, they throw a concert in later down the road once they get going.
okay, it's a great idea.
All right.
Thanks.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Woody.
Okay. We're going to move on to new business. No resolutions, no ordinances. But we do have a discussion next with Gary. Is it Wires? I never did that.
Wires.
Wires?
Yes.
Okay. From DDA Human Resources.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, councilors. Good to be with you here this evening. Wanted to talk a little bit about the potential search process, and the mayor and I had a chance to visit a little bit this afternoon about this as well. Excuse me. And the first thing I wanted to say is that when our company did the search 2 years ago, almost to the day, there was a 2-year guarantee. And so my approach to this process now is to fully honor that guarantee. So if you wish to move forward with our company assisting with the search process, the only thing the city would be responsible for would be expenses. And I would guess expenses would be in the $3,000 range. Things that fall under that are advertising, mileage, the background check process that we use, personality testing, intellectual testing, those kind of things all fall under that umbrella. But there wouldn't be any professional fee charged to the city. So your responsibility would only be expenses. And I'm guessing on 3,000, it might be a little more, it might be a little less, but it's probably a good target for you to contemplate. So kind of get that out of the way. That's where, the timing was real tight, and I certainly did not want to split a hair and cause a disagreement or hard feelings or anything. So that's our company's position, is that we'll honor that, move forward if you want to. So secondly, I see it was handed out to you this morning. I put a timeline together, just kind of thinking this through if you wanted to move forward. And so the timeline that was handed out to you is, something similar. Process really hasn't changed too much since I was here 2 years ago. The one thing I would point out, though, this particular timeline moves forward fairly aggressively, like right away. And I'd urge you to kind of think about that, whether or not you want to do that. This would involve advertising over the Christmas and New Year holidays. That's probably less than ideal. If you were comfortable waiting a little bit, I would encourage you to do that till like maybe after the first of the year, and then we'd start advertising then, rather than starting the advertising in December. Your call. What I handed out to you is very achievable and doable, but after I thought more about it, I'm like, I think the better option is to move a little bit slower from my perspective. But we can get going right away if that's your objective or intent. So.
So if we wanted to wait till January, the timeline would still be the same time parameters, it would just be pushed ahead
Right.
month and a half, 2
But
months?
exactly right. Yeah, you could look at this and just add whatever amount of time you waited to it, so. Yeah, I do think, you do have, as was discussed earlier, you do have a local election coming up in early April. My suggestion to you is that if it is pushed back, somewhat, I wouldn't go too much, because I would encourage you to actually do interviews in advance of that election. So that would, come into play potentially as well. So if you do wait a little bit, I'd say wait maybe mid-January, but probably not any later than that to get the process going. And I would say if you choose to move forward on your own, I'd do the same. I'd advise you the same way, is to wait probably until January to start moving the process forward. You can move forward now, you can advertise, you just, I hate to have anybody potentially excluded that might be interested, and they just don't pay enough attention over the holidays to apply for a position. So that's my thought here tonight. So I guess with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions you'd have of me. Several of you I worked with, here last time, and be happy to answer any questions you might have process-wise or anything at all.
I don't.
I asked all mine this afternoon.
Yeah.
I wasn't around the last time. Were there public interviews as part of the hiring of?
So yeah, I would say, no, there weren't public interviews, but there was a public meet and greet event at the library. So it wasn't a formal interview process, but what we did was we had the candidates positioned at various spots in the room, and then members of the public had an opportunity to just come in and visit with each of the candidates. We kind of kept people moving a little bit around the room as well. So yes, there was a public process included, and that seemed to be pretty well attended and well received.
Did we ask for feedback then from the public as part of that, or was it just an opportunity for them to?
I don't think there was feedback.
Okay.
Not a formal,
No, there wasn't. That I recall. I don't recall a formal feedback from the public.
I think it would be a good idea to get some feedback, given all the hiring practices in the city that have happened, and of some misses, I think, along the way, not only from here, but other places. I think getting community buy-in is going to be huge. That's just my opinion. But so how we do that, I don't know, but I think it's good to at least solicit some feedback on
Well,
the
they could just,
district.
they could come, interview the people.
Yeah.
Fill out a
Yeah.
form on their way out.
Yeah.
I've actually done exactly that in other places where there was a desire to have a formal feedback mechanism, so that can be done. Surprising how few people actually do that, but giving the opportunity is really what you're talking about. And that would easily be able, something that could be done, absolutely. And we would talk later on the process about some of those
Right.
details, but absolutely that can be integrated.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
All right, good, well, thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
All right,
Safe drive home.
all right, thank you. And it did snow where I live, 50 miles south of Minneapolis. Plows were out, 5 inches or 4 inches of snow, so, yeah. Bones is forecast, I doubt will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay. Number 4 is moot point. We raised the lease last year to 9 cents a square foot. Number 5, Amory Cemetery Association. Anybody? Nobody? here. Anybody have any discussion? You had some,
Yep. I just had some questions because I wasn't there to hear the whole part. I guess if somebody could explain, how can they do that? Assess an entity, a private entity, and I'm confused, or somebody explain it more. As I guess the point is, I don't quite understand. I know we have the cemetery, we take care of it if they can't. But to assess all taxpayers a fee, whether or not they use it or have family there or ever plan on there, I just have a problem, how everybody is taxed. Why, we don't do that like the golf course, we have there, that we don't assess everybody a tax like for the golf course. And I wasn't at the discussion, so I didn't hear the presentation, but can somebody enlighten me? I mean, what?
I might be able to do it from the fire district perspective. The state law allows for certain entities to create their own taxable entity. So like, if we go forward with a fire district, if it was a district, now defining that, and we'll hear more about it later, but in a true fire district, you have, by law, the ability to tax as your own entity. I believe they have to ask the host and, city or something for permission to do that. But there is something in the state statutes that allow that. Who qualifies and who doesn't, I can't answer that.
Right. But I understand the fire part, every taxpayer is getting the benefit of the fire district. I just don't understand with a cemetery and everybody's getting a benefit of it.
I think they're kind of modeling it,
That's
my
why I don't-
understanding is they're kind of modeling it after the Lakes Association type taxing district.
in the River Association.
But then I go back to the same thing, there's
Well-
more,
You're right. I don't disagree. The way the money flows is, if they're their own taxing, they're gonna be taxed. Or if it comes off a city levy, the money's gonna come either way. I just think if they're their own taxing entity, who's, like you said, who's being taxed for it, who are the users of it? The Lake Association, they tax their membership. I don't pay for Lake Association since I'm not on the lake.
Oh, I bet you do.
you're doing your taxes, But the point is, then again, I'm saying is,
You don't
whether you
pay for the
use it
river.
or you drive by it, you look, there's a,
Right, but they're paying for it now because the city is mowing it,
We have,
so.
But-
we put 25,000 in the budget, and
right,
the proposal to the city council was that they would, if they were able to create their own taxing district, which I think was pretty aggressive. I don't think they're gonna get that done. Well, they're not, because we've approved our budget. But we have 25,000, and they were thinking maybe 27 to do it, and then they would take the whole responsibility. 27 and 29?
27, 29.
Okay, I'm sorry. I knew there was $2,000 difference, so. I talked to Chuck at length the other day, and he said, well, if the city has 25,000 in the budget, we would accept that to maintain the process that we've been doing, i.e. they've been hiring somebody to do the lawn and the leaves and all the stuff that they've always done with, if they're knowing that the 25 or 27 that we've already appropriated for that could be sent their way. And I said, I think that's probably a really good idea, because trying to set this up before budget is, pretty aggressive, and B, if they're happy with that, that's what we wanted to spend anyway, so.
And then it comes off our levy.
Yeah, it still comes off, you're right, you're absolutely right, and I raised that question in the meeting too, that the Amory taxpayers will be paying for the cemetery, but probably less than 50% of the interrees will be, from the city of Amory. So I think a year ahead, now if you got another year, as was my suggestion to, see if that could be spread out around the area a little bit rather than
Because, yeah,
That
there's
main-
other
that
people,
main-
in there,
yeah.
family members that are not from Amory.
Yeah.
Then we go back to the fire district, but then it's spread out over, we have to
But you're
maintain it,
right.
I understand.
Fire
But
and
I
Lakes
just-
District
a
only
little-
tax the people who live where the water runs in, their lawn
mean-
water runs into the lake or the river, they get that. And then the fire district, of course, is just people that are served by the Amory Fire Department, so yeah, there's a level of concern there, I think.
But my concern is that the citizens of the city of Amory are already paying for it.
Right, right.
Yeah, so now we're okay, the 27 that
But
we
it
appropriated.
just sounds like we're paying an additional part on top of certain, that.
No,
I mean,
we
we're maintaining it
subtract
now, and that's
27
why,
No.
from our city budget.
so what you're saying is just the same amount of money, different part in the budget.
Yes.
So it's not actually, here's your assessment on your tax bill for cemetery,
Right,
like
and it-
fire
and it-
district, cemetery.
And it won't ever be that.
Okay,
either.
that's what, when I was reading through, I just
Yeah.
wanted some clarification. Just, obviously, we're gonna maintain it, no matter what, we're not gonna let it, keep it maintained, but I just wanted to see, it sounds like it's a special assessment that everyone was getting. So, I just wanted to see what that meant. Thank you.
So there's actually no action on that part. So let's move forward to closed session, Wisconsin statute 1985 1C, Patty Berkland, interim city administrator, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee or which government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Wisconsin statute 1985 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. So,
Motion to go into closed.
Second.
all right, roll call?
Strobush,
Yes.
Raymond Schneider,
Yes.
Van Blaricon,
Yes.
Isaacson.
Yes.
Vicker.
Yes.
Lanham.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.